I stood tiptoe upon a little hill. The air was cooling and so very still that the sweet buds, which with a modest pride pulled droopingly in slanting curve aside, their scanty leaf and finely tapering stems had not yet lost those starry diadems, caught from the early sobbing of the morn. The clouds were pure and white as flocks new shorn, and fresh from the clear brook, sweetly they slept on the blue fields of heaven, and then there crept a little noiseless noise among the leaves, born of the very sight that silence heaves, for not the faintest motion could be seen of all the set that slanted over the green. There was wait wondering for the greedy eye to peer about upon variety, for on the horizon's crystal earth scheme, and trace the dwindled edgings of its brim, to picture out the quaint and curious bending of a fresh woodland alley never ending, or by the bowery clefts and leafy selves, guess where the jaunty streams refresh themselves. I gazed a while and felt as light and free as though the fanning wings of Mercury had played upon my heels. I was light-hearted, and many pleasures to my vision started, so I straightway began to pluck a posy of luxuries bright, milky, soft and rosy. A bush of Mayflowers with the bees about them, sure no tasteful nook would be without them. And let the lush laburnum oversweep them, and let long grass grow round the roots to keep them moist, cool and green, and say the violets, that they may bind the moss in leafy nets. I fill with edge with wild-briar overtwin, and clumps of woodbine taking the soft wind. Upon their summer thrones their choice would be the frequent checker of a youngling tree, that with a score of light, green breath ensues from the quaint mossiness of aged roots, round which is heard a spring head of clear waters, bubbling so wildly of its lovely daughters. The spreading bluebells, it may haply mourn that such fair clusters should be rudely torn from their fresh beds and scattered thoughtlessly by infant hands left on the path to die. Open afresh your round of starry falls, you urgent marigolds, grab the moisture from your golden lids, for great Apollo bids that in these days your praises should be sung on many harps which he has lately strung, and when again your dewiness he kisses, tell him I have you in a world of blisses. So haply when I rove in some far vale, his mighty voice may come upon the gale. Here are sweet peas on tiptoe for a flight, with wings of gentle flash over delicate white, and taper fingers catching at all things, to bind them all about with tiny rings. Linger a while upon some bending planks, that lean against a streamlet's grassy banks, and watch intently nature's gentle doings. They will be found softer, the ringed dove's cooings, how silent comes the water round that bend, not a minute's whisper does it send to the overhanging sallows. Blades of grass slowly cross the checkered shadow pass. Why, you might read two sonnets, here they reach, to where the harem freshness aye preach, a natural sermon over the pebbly beds, where swarms of minnows show their little heads. Extend their wavy bodies against the streams, to taste the luxury of sunny beams, tempered with coolness, how they ever wrestle with their own sweet delight and ever nestle their silver bellies on the pebbly sand. If you but scantly haul out the hand, that very instant not one will remain, but turn your eye, and they are there again. The ripples seem right glad to reach those cresses, and cool themselves among them emerald tresses. The wildly cool themselves the freshness give, and moisture that the bowery green may leave, so keeping up an interchange of favors, like good men in the truth of their behaviors. Sometimes goldfinches one by one will drop from low hang branches, little space they stop, but sip and twitter, and their feathers sleek, then off at once as in a wanton freak, or perhaps to sow their black and golden wings, pausing upon their yellow flutterings. Were I in such a place, I should so pray that no less sweet might call my thoughts away than the soft rustle of a maiden's gown, fanning away the dandelions down, than the light music of her nimble toes, patting against the sorrel as he goes. How she will start and blush, thus to be cuffed, playing in all her innocence of thought, or let me lead her gently over the brook. Watch her half-smiling lips and downward look, or let me for one moment touch her wrist, let me one moment to her breathing list, and as she leaves me may see often turn, her fair eyes looking through her locks of born. What next? A tuft of evening primroses, over which the mind may hover till it dozes, over which it well might take a pleasant sleep, but that is ever startled by the leap of buds into ripe flowers, or by the fleeting of diverse moths that the rest are quitting, or by the moon lifting her silver rim above a cloud, and with a gradual swim coming into the blue with all her light. O maker of sweet poets, dear delight of this fair world, on all its gentle livers, spangled of clouds, hollow of crystal rivers, mingled with leaves and dew and tumbling streams, closer of lovely eyes to lovely dreams, lover of loneliness and wandering, of upcast eye and tender pondering, thee must I praise above all other glories, that smile us on to tell delightful stories, for what has made the sage or poet write but the fair paradise of nature's light. In the calm grandeur of a sober line we see the waving of a mountain pine, and when a tale is beautifully stayed we feel the safety of a hawthorn glade. When it is moving on luxurious wings, the soul is lost in pleasant smotherings. Fair dewy roses brush against our faces, and flowering laurels spring from diamond vases. Overhead we see the jasmine and sweet briar, and bloomy grapes laughing from green attire, while at our feet the voice crystal bubbles, charms us at once away from our old troubles, so that we feel uplifted from the world, walking upon the white clouds, wreathed and curled. So felt he who first told how Psyche went on the smooth wind to realms of wonderment, what Psyche felt and loved when their full lips first touched, what amorous and fondled nips they gave each other's cheeks with all their sights, and how they kissed each other, tremulous eyes, the silver lamp, the ravishment, the wonder, the darkness, loneliness, the fearful thunder, their woods gone by, and both to heaven upflown, to bow for gratitude before Jove's throne. So did he feel, who pulled the boughs aside, that we might look into a forest wide, to catch a glimpse of fauns and dryads, coming with softest rustle through the trees, and garlands woven of flowers wild and sweet, upheld on every wrist or sporting feet, telling us how fair trembling Syrinx fled, Arcadian pen, with such fearful dread. Poor nymph, poor pen, how did he weep to find naught but the lovely sighing of the wind along the reedy stream, a half-heard strain, full of sweet desolation, balmy pain. What first inspired a barb of all to sing, Narcissus pining over the enchanting spring. In some delicious ramble he had found a little space with boughs all woven around, and in the midst of all a clearer pool than ever reflected in its pleasant cool, the blue sky here and there serenely peeping through tendril wreaths, fantastically creeping, and on the bank a lonely flower he espied, a meek and forlorn flower with note of pride, drooping its beauty over the watery clearness, to woo its own sad image into nearness. Left to light Zephyrus it would not move, but still would seem to droop, to pine, to love. So while the poet stood in this sweet spot, some fainter gleamings over his fancy sought, nor was it long here he hath told the tale of yon Narcissus and sad Echo's vale. Where hath he been from whose worn head outflew that sweetest of all songs that ever knew, that refreshing pure deliciousness, coming ever to bless the wanderer by moonlight, to him bringing, safe from the invisible world, an earthly singing, from out the middle air, from flowery nest, and from the pillowy silkiness that rest, full in the speculation of the stars, as surely he had bars or mortal bars, into some wondrous region he hath gone, to search for thee, thy vine Endymion. He was poet, sure lover too, who stood on Latmus top, what time there blew soft breezes from the myrtle vale below, and brought in faintness songless, sweet and slow, and in from Dian's temple, while upswelling, the suns went to her own starry dwelling. But though her face was clear as infant eyes, so she stood smiling over the sacrifice, the poet wept at her so piteous fate. What such beauty should be desolate, so in fond wrath some golden sounds he won, and gave meek Cynthia her Endymion. Queen of the white hair, the most lovely queen of all the brightness